If you're a SaaS AE, SDR, or sales leader looking for your next role, the jobs we talk about in this episode will be posted on salesacademy.com/jobs. I personally pre-vet the applicants and send the best straight to the hiring leader. Now let's get into it. Welcome to Top Sales Jobs in SaaS, the podcast where founders, CROs, and VPs of sales share how they're building teams and the sales roles they're hiring for now and in the coming quarters. I'm Sean Anderson. I help SaaS companies build and scale high-performing sales teams by installing AI-enabled recruiting and onboarding systems. Today, I'm joined by Jayme Smithers, Chief Revenue Officer at Traction Complete, builds a suite of revenue operations apps that are 100% native to Salesforce, helping go-to-market teams clean, connect, and route their data so every lead, account, and opportunity gets to the right place fast. Before Traction Complete, Jayme started at a Xerox reseller, joined Crystal Decisions, stayed through the Bob J and SAP acquisitions, led at NetSuite, and has spent the last decade in the startup and scale-up world. We worked together back in the SAP days when he was my VP of sales, so I'm super excited for this one. Jayme, great to have you here.
John, it's such a treat, such a pleasure. Thanks so much.
Yeah, awesome to connect. For people who don't know Traction Complete, how do you describe what you do and who your customers are?
Yeah, so you did a good job. Nice work.
Not bad?
That was great. So Traction Complete's mission and sole purpose, really our North Star, is untangling the mess of Salesforce that is out there. And, your Salesforce is the de facto standard in customer relations management. But as your business grows, maybe you've been a Salesforce customer for 20 years, there's multiple instances. Maybe you've been in the SaaS world or software to transition to SaaS world to the next transition, but you essentially acquire a company, you get more data. The more data you get in, the more complex it comes in. Maybe you started in North America, then you went into Europe, and you continue to scale and come up with new rules and logic. And really at the core of what we're doing is creating that level of instructions in Salesforce to automate things to get it to the right person at the right time so that the sales team can execute. The go-to-market teams can execute flawlessly. So our bit of our origin story is pretty phenomenal, and we're really the experts in Salesforce. So you had mentioned Crystal, Business Objects, SAP, a couple of the original founders of this company that was called Traction On Demand, was a services-specific company focused in on helping implement and do services on Salesforce.
So this is sort of an offshoot of that.
This is an offshoot, exactly. So it was like that services company became really prolific. They went from two founders that I know quite well that also spent time at Crystal, Bob J, SAP, and they grew that company to 1,400 employees doing work on all things Salesforce. And the founder had this vision to create product companies out. So we got to experience, and we're working with large companies like T-Mobile or Cisco. How are they routing leads and how could it help them? How are they connecting parent-child relationships? And found all of the gaps in Salesforce as it related to go-to-market. And that's our purpose.
Sort of like a product born out of all of the consulting work, like
100%.
the biggest and most common problems that you were seeing doing that work. And having worked in Salesforce the bulk of my career, like you sort of start and over time, it turns into a beast for many of the reasons that you mentioned. You just like growth of the business. You kind of start small. If you do an acquisition or two, it gets pretty messy.
That's right. And I had a CEO at one of the startups, and he said that if you really want to have a prolific team, focus in on the career of the person, of the buyer that you're selling to, and help make their lives better. And it's interesting, when I first came to Traction, it was like, let's improve the lives of rev ops, marketing ops, sales operations, people that are in the weeds, at the front line trying to connect and automate Salesforce. And that's what we do. And the products that you alluded to, it's like simple words, which is cleaning data, removing duplicates and accounts, connecting or automating the lead object within Salesforce, connecting and automating hierarchies into territory planning, giving visualization on the influence map of an account. These are the core products that we have. And then we have, a world-class CS team that's helping bring that all together. And then probably the most exciting thing that we've been able to do is we're kind of data agnostic. We generally would work with the raw materials of Dun & Bradstreet as your data provider or ZoomInfo as your contact provider, or Moody's. Now it's really exciting because we are working with AI providers, bring that AI data in for enrichment, normalization, and we just know how to connect and automate things. So we're using our automation engine in Salesforce to bring that level of kind of real, no hype AI to the go-to-market engineers, if you will. So it's been
Very cool.
really, really exciting
Actually
for us.
produces tangible results and really solves a big problem. Like, and in all my time consulting, I've never really seen a super clean Salesforce instance. It's always a mess when you start.
And when you're in sales,
Yeah.
You want to meet people where they're at. So it's not that difficult to be like, we've been in the network for a long time. A lot of the people that we've worked with are now CROs or CEOs of various companies, and it's like, hey, Sean, how's your Salesforce instance? You happy? It's like,
And nobody's ever really super happy.
no, and it's like, well, we can help. We can help bring really relief and now acceleration. We're working with the best tech brands on the planet. We're working with, the majority of the cybersecurity companies that are growing like crazy. And each of the different areas in tech, we're pretty prolific, and they're looking to solve meaningful business problems, which is connecting parent-child relationships. So what? So you can automate territories, you can make those changes in, and you can ultimately sell more to your install base, drive higher net retention, those types of things by having a clean, connected CRM. So super
cool.
fun.
And it's great to have a team with that background in data from Crystal and Bob J, and then actually working in Salesforce, building those tools. That's a great pedigree for the solution.
Yeah. You remember our pitch back from Crystal days. Like, we were kind of the pioneers early when analytics, like Crystal and that whole space was like business intelligence and then analytics and then visualization. And there was always a good story, which was garbage in, garbage out. And it's still the story that exists today, which is, if you want even AI models and better context to drive, you need to have a well-connected, clean system of record.
Yeah.
And
it's all about the plumbing in the background, the stuff.
Right.
Remember that old iceberg graphic that we used to have? It's all about what's beneath the surface.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
I want to talk about your journey in your career. Pretty amazing trajectory in your career. You've gone from a Xerox reseller to Crystal to Business Objects and SAP, and then into NetSuite, and now multiple startups and scale-ups, including Traction Complete. Can you walk us through like the key chapters in that journey? It's been pretty impressive.
Yeah, thanks so much. Yeah, I was thinking about this. I have a 7-year-old and a 12-year-old, and we're trying to get them into like proper chapter books. But the thing that wins out right now is graphic novel. So I think I want mine to be a graphic novel. Chapters within a graphic novel.
Perfect.
And this morning I was reading with my son, Calvin and Hobbes. So I was like, okay, what funny pranks can we do along the way? And how do we keep the audience highly engaged? But
what does the first chapter look like? Like there's that sort of that document management chapter. A lot of
right.
people that are like really successful in sales and software sales
There'd be some funny skits of like me with quarters in my jeans in a payphone calling and asking if people's lease is up for their Xerox machine and if they were looking for a different provider and if they're just starting their business. But it was like the foundational side, intro to sales, intro to entrepreneurship. I was pretty fortunate. My family, my father started that reseller, that agency with Xerox. So I was like 18, 19 years old, going to Xerox school for 2 weeks to learn the foundational aspects of customer-centric selling, to like how to actually handle objections and sell and build plans and stand out. And I remember interviewing with the president of Xerox Canada as a post-secondary education of like why I'm the person, why I have the resilience, the competitiveness, and the ability to help my father's business succeed. And we succeeded. We were the top agency in the province. Multiple times we competed at the national stage as well. So it was like intro into sales, all of that stuff. And there would be many skits of me like failing along the way and learning and like repetition. And, I had a almost like I had a paper route was my first job really when I was 10. This was like
That's
the
a great
next
start,
level,
too.
right? The next level where I was like, okay, here's my book of clients that are both either customers or prospects. I'm going to see them every month. We didn't have sequencing. We didn't have outreach. It was like, I'm physically going to go to their office and introduce myself and give them my business card and give them something else to stand out every month.
Yeah.
And I did that. And then you'd work your opportunities. But that was like introduction into sales. And I think it really like, it's like the analog version of what we're doing now with all the tech stack and the digital stuff. But it's like context and familiarity and empathy and all of the things that were there. So that was chapter 1.
It's such a great foundation to start your career. Like today, not a lot of reps necessarily get that foundation. There's a lot more like inbound in today's world, starting with more of that outbound focus where you have to really go after it hard, leave business cards and nurture accounts over time to finally get that shot. It's such a great foundation, and the training that you get at Xerox, just world class.
Yeah, and the Crystal crew or the Crystal leadership team and SAP at the time. So these two companies hadn't collided yet. So Xerox had Bill McDermott. SAP had Bill McDermott, and he was a former Xerox exec in the U.S. And Crystal had Greg Wolf and Janet Wood, and they were Xerox execs in North America for Crystal. Crystal gets acquired by Business Objects, but they were like, oh, let's grab these Xerox reps. They're trained. If you make it past 6 months at Xerox, you made it. Like 9 months. Most people were like, oh, this sucks.
Yeah.
This is really hard.
You don't make it through that 6 months.
You get rejection. And then you're like, okay, you've trained, you're enabled, you're competitive, you have the resilience, you show the values that are critical to be successful. And so they were like, oh, these people at these agencies, these resellers, let's take them into tech and introduce them to tech. And the rest is history. I went to school, went to University of Denver, got a finance degree. Then out of that, got recruited to join Crystal. And that's chapter 2, which is introduction into the high tech world.
Yeah. And just an amazing success story, like one of the best in maybe not just Canada, but worldwide, one of the best success stories in tech.
Such a good one. Greg Kerfoot, who started the company, to what they did, they went against competitors. They were like the smallest one of all the BI vendors. Like, they were kind of prolifically growing, and there was MicroStrategy, Actuate, Cognos, Crystal Decisions, Business Objects, plenty of others. And Crystal just kept growing and hiring good people, building an onboarding plan, cared deeply about talent, this little Vancouver engine that could, and they really became on the main stage. And then you merged this, so that was my introduction. I was like, what am I even selling? Like this. And there's an interesting thing, like I still think about it today, which is like, how do you go from hardware to software? We're recruiting some talent out of BCIT and other places, like never experienced. Most people now know all of everyone has computers and iPads but we didn't. My first
new technology at the time.
My first computer was 96, 1996. And that was like, I was already 21 years old, it's like 20 years old. Like, my kid's been pitched. Like,
a little different these
days. He gets bigger since he was 3 years old.
Yeah.
But to go from hardware to software was kind of a big deal at the time. And it's about just having empathy, understanding. But I remember my first sale, it was to AT&T. It was for $30,000. And I was like, I got paid really well. I was like, right out of university, are they going to return it? Like, what did they buy? They bought some analytics reporting, but, oh man, I sure hope they don't return it. I really like this commission check.
For sure. And probably in part because of the team that was formed, like the one thing that the Crystal team was really well known for is really probably being the first team to really kind of figure out that inside sales done for complex solution. Probably in large part because of that Xerox background, right? Xerox, you're selling a premium solution in many cases, a large premium to the competition. And that background really translates well to software sales. Like some of my best hires when I was at SAP came from that Xerox, Canon world. Jesse, he became the top rep in North America. Yeah, it's a great foundation.
Yeah, that's right. So that's kind of chapter two, introduction into Crystal. What a gift to be kind of work at that, like as your first tech company. And that just kind of then Business Object came in. I learned about, that's chapter 3, like acquisition. Whoa, I just made a bunch of money because I had shares in the company, and holy smokes, like this is crazy. Not only do I do my job well, I do it well for the company, and then the company rewards me with equity and shares. I was like, whoa, this is cool.
Yeah, life changing.
And you kind of learned, it was like another, like an MBA at this point. You're learning about how two companies can merge together successfully, where there's synergies, how you sell the product, your product to their install base. And there was a complementary piece. So I learned a ton about that. Then I went, and that was all from, I'd moved from Denver to Toronto, helping build. That's where we met, in Toronto, building up the teams in Toronto, we hired, was interviewing like crazy, and you didn't always, it's hard to find the right people and put them in and make sure that's going to be the best for both parties, but got a lot of experience doing that. And then I wanted to move back west, and SAP acquired Business Object, and that was another, like, what an awesome experience there to start to like master things and get exposure to much bigger. SAP learned, they were quite open. They learned a lot about, holy smokes, this team knows how to sell volume, and departments in various buying centers where SAP had only sold to like large enterprise to C-level. So it was like this beautiful combination. They wanted Business Objects to protect their core because they had this ERP, enterprise resource planning financial accounting software. And Business Objects brought the visualization to life and the engagement to life. And we used to call system of record, system of engagement, if you remember, all of this fun stuff. And then I continued to just be passionate to drive my career forward. And I was always like, hey, I want to get back to that, like, I want to run a company, get to that entrepreneurial stuff. So I'll just learn everything about this role and master this role, and then learn everything about this role. And I had bosses that were highly supportive of my career aspirations and growth and invested in me. I had mentors that were supporting me, and that's like the foundation was set now. So if you think about, that was 14 years, Crystal, Business Objects, SAP, and SAP I took on from helping bring inside sales globally. I was one of the key people that helped do that transformation, to then taking on large enterprise sales in Western Canada and in Canada to help bring 7-figure deals, launching new products. Then I worked the channel, and I got global exposure to the channel for SAP. So it's like you kind of learn like all of these various things. And then I had a mentor that was like, you should go deep. You're learning so much wide about the whole business. I think your next chapter should be like, go deep into a business and learn like verticals. And there was this one leader who was very prolific. He's the CEO of, and a lot of this, the executive team became CEOs of other companies, but Simon Paris was running all the verticals for SAP. And my mentor was like, go do what he's like, go learn the verticals and figure out that piece. And then my friends at NetSuite, who were a bunch of Crystal Bob J SAP people, hey, you want to run these verticals for us? And so I got that, and I jumped at it, and we had another exit, and it was super fun, kind of taking a lot of the foundational stuff into another hyper growth company that we then exited from NetSuite to Oracle. And that's kind of like the foundational core. Now is like, let's now get to my kind of roots. I feel like I've been in learning and developing and failing and succeeding. I was like, let's go take it on the road to like startups. And then now for the last kind of decade, it's been startups of learning how to do it from 1 to 30, doing it from 20 to 40 and 5 to 30. And there's that, each of those, I didn't know what that meant when I got into it. I didn't know how to raise like bring in private equity or bring in VC. I learned all of that. I started new teams, like account management team that didn't exist, or a RevOps team that didn't exist, to running marketing, not really ever run, like I'd run marketing for sales, but not like marketing.
Yep.
And
But
so I
you
did a
figure it
bunch.
out. My experience was more focused on the BobG and SAP side. So I didn't see the earlier stages like you did, but that experience was so helpful just in terms of understanding systems and processes, understanding mid-market versus enterprise,
Right.
understanding how the channel works. And channel is a big multiplier these days for business, maybe even more so than in the past. So you of course have to like right size it for a smaller company at the stage that they're at. But yeah, you may not know like everything, but the great part of being part of these bigger companies is you just get exposure to so many different areas and a lot of amazing people that are super talented. So you can always call on them for help. So yeah, I found that SAP experience was really a blessing for me in making the transition to smaller companies.
And it's like, you got to be mindful to be like, oh, okay, I'm going to take this thing and put it into this company. And probably the more important thing is to be like, well, okay, let's assess this company that you're currently at. What are the strengths? What's work? What are you trying to accomplish? And is it applicable to bring some of the amazing things? Like that's the hard part of like, oh, that worked really well over here. Will it work here? But like, if people get stuck on a playbook, be like, this is exactly how it works. It's like playbooks are like old and like, no, it's like you're adapting. Every
Yeah,
company is different and at different stages, but the
that's a
foundation
great point.
stuff of what we got exposure to see was bananas. Like, what a great experience. I think that really, if I think about my uniqueness of what I can bring to the market and that from that perspective, like I haven't seen it all, but I've seen a lot that can be applicable to any particular stage of
Yep,
growth.
for
So
sure.
the last little bit's been really having so much fun at the executive level, driving the strategy and the tactics and coming up with a plan. And really like I want to give back to, of like, hey, this is what happened to my career. Like, this is who invested. Like, I want to do that. I want to create this next generation and really lead by example and what I think is great leadership to help create great companies and make a difference in the marketplace. So that's been the North Star for me. And it's really all about the people.
Yeah.
Like you need a great product for sure. You need a great market. You need, great customers. Those are all contributing factors. But it's like who you work with. I think that's probably why we had so much fun while we're here, 15 years later, still chatting and helping each other out, because it was just that like level of like connection and trust and how we helped each other out. And
Yep.
I'm trying to create some exits like that for others now. So they're like, they have this network effect that they can leverage and they achieve something truly
Yeah, I
great.
think there's a pretty nice Crystal Bob J SAP mafia out there. There's a lot of people that have come out of that world and had a lot of success
That's right. That's
in
right.
various companies, for
Yeah.
sure. And yeah, as you get older, like when you start your career, it's maybe a little bit more centered around the commission check and buying a nice car and buying a nice place. But I don't know. The thing I always found about you is there was a lot of purpose to the work that you did, and I think that's why we've stayed in touch over the years.
Yeah. Perfect.
Um, Wanted to talk about Traction Complete. You've been with the company for about a year and a half now.
Yeah.
I see a lot of like really amazing ingredients as to why you would venture into this opportunity. But what made you say yes at the time?
People is the simplest one. I have lots of mentors from the Crystal Bob J cohort, SAP cohort. I took a small little break in between a couple of startups, and then I went back to them. And I was fortunate enough a couple of ways when I left. When I went to NetSuite, I had a good mentor that was like, "Here's the things that you should be evaluating companies on." And it turns out, as I raised money for the companies that I was working for, I gave the VCs and the private equities my blueprint on how I evaluated the company. It was like, here's the people, here's the product, here's the market, here's the customers, here's the performance, etc.
That's such
And
a great thing. It's such a good like analogy because you should really be thinking about these roles as though you're a VC, as though you're investing in the company. I love that.
That's your career. Like early on, you said it right, which is like, I didn't know what about Crystal. I was just like, they asked me to do a demo in the interview. I had to like, what the heck is analytics report? I had to build this like whole business case, and then I had to present it and do a role play. I had 3 people on the other side giving me feedback of my role. I was terrified. Absolutely. And I was like, I don't know. Like, I remember one of the questions from my boss, who's now a good friend, been mentor friend for now 20, my first boss at Crystal. He's like, what's, what did he say? I can't even remember. Like, I don't even know if it was a question. It was more like my bold kind of like stupid comment. Probably. I was like, hey, I want to be a leader at this company. Like within the year. So clueless.
Yeah.
No. And he's like, hey, just chill out, okay? Like, why don't you go do the job that I'm hiring you for? Do it well. And if you do it well, I will invest in you and help you out. Turns out that individual is my board member now.
Very cool.
He calls me up and is like, hey, so you're at this company. We got this company. We remember he tried to hire me a few times. He's like, Traction on Demand, we've exited. Now we've got these other companies. These companies like tailor-made for you. Here's the CEO. Here's the product. Here's the customers. And I was like, Tova, my wife, I was like, are we open? She's like, everything's always for sale. Meaning like you're for sale, like they could buy you. And I was like, okay, well then I'm going to put on my evaluation hat. What are the people? What is the product? What is the market? What do the customers say? Drill in. What's the job to be done? What's happening? And I'm a firm believer in when you're in the market, you're out there. It's a pretty good market right now. You should be evaluating that company. Of course you are. Oftentimes I think the company evaluates you more than you probably do, but I'm always like, ask any questions. This is your time. This is your career. I want to invest in your career, but it's super hard at that time. You're like, just want to, maybe you don't have a job. So then it's more stressful, and interviews can be awkward. To you're happy, or maybe you're not quite happy and you're in the market looking. I remember I did this one interview it was another great tech company in Vancouver, and they were like, what's the hardest? And I was at SAP. So we were crushing it. We were doing great. I had alignment all the way up to Rob Enslin and Bill McDermott. The jobs I was doing was well received and impactful. And I'm in the market interviewing. And they're like, what's the hardest thing to come to this company? It's like, leaving my current company?
Yeah.
It was real. It was truth. But my wife was like, maybe you shouldn't have said that. Like, maybe you shouldn't be so honest in that scenario. Like, because they kind of looked at me like, oh, I guess he doesn't want to come here. But it was true. I don't know. You sell me on why I should come to that company. Like, let's have like a little bit.
I think that's important, right? Just like in a sales process, like you need to qualify, right? And like when you're taking on any role, never mind like a leadership role, like you're invested. You're putting a lot of not only time and energy, but to really do well, your heart has to be in it. So to really, as much as they want to qualify you, it's important that you qualify, the leader and the opportunity to make sure it's the right spot. I agree with that wholesale.
That's
and
right.
I don't know, maybe overstepping a little bit, but that was the truth, right? Your career at that stage at SAP, like leaving that, you had lots of upside in that role, amazing career path from Crystal, Bob J to SAP.
Yes.
A lot of relationships. That's tough. That's a tough move. So I don't know if I'm on the other side, I wouldn't necessarily take that personally. I actually kind of want to see that. Those are the people I want to hire.
Yeah. It didn't. I didn't go to that company, so it didn't work out. It's probably better for the both.
Yeah.
But I got another opportunity. And my friends were like, when NetSuite came calling, they're like, they were selling hard on why to come, and kind of knew some of my desires to get a little bit closer to the action to what my mentors had said. And so it was awesome experience. So
very cool. So thinking back to when you joined, what did the revenue org at Traction look like sort of on day one when you first started in the role?
Yeah. So the revenue org was good. We were small. We've been growing quite a bit in the last 18 months. But in the like due diligence, it was like, hey, like start to level up the team, start to invest, kind of switch from like product functional, like some good stuff here, pieces here. And so there wasn't anything super red flag. Like you like or when a company's selling you too, it may not be fully truthful on their end of what is like, and then as a CRO, they may be asking for the world, and then you come in and it's like, this is maybe why there's like, 18 months to whatever the number is of like exodus of like CMOs and CROs, et cetera. They're like, oh, coming in and you're the unicorn and you're going to make it. That's the, it's like, you don't know exactly what's under the water of the iceberg.
Yeah, for sure.
But for us, there wasn't anything glaring from that perspective. I was like, oh, these are stuff that I know how to do. I can bring in talent. I can focus talent. I can up-level talent. I can put various pieces in. I can invest in it in various areas. So yeah, it was great. It was just more fundamentals of like, oh, have you guys heard of a mutual action plan? Have you worked with executive sponsors? Who's our competition? Do we have a unique point of view on how we win versus that, and focus and so that was like on the sales side. On the BD side, it was like this prolific engine that was like the activity was bananas. And I was like, okay, well, let's just rein that in a little bit. Who's our ICP? What does that look like? What's our point of view for that? And how do we do that? And so then we just leveled them up by focusing them a bit more. We had like a renewals team. We didn't have a full-fledged team, and probably points to one of my challenges is like, we had this good sales engine. We didn't have a net retention problem, if you will, but it hadn't been, we have multiple products, as I said at the start. So as a startup, like we're kind of like, I would still call us a startup, if you will, but like we're kind of super fortunate because we like incubated out of this services company. So then we already had customers. We didn't have like a massive burn. We had already figured out our ICP. We didn't have to figure that out. It's like, we already had customers and we're like, okay, just launch.
Yeah. I mean, that's awesome. And that's actually relatively rare. Like in terms of scaling a company, that can be one of the challenges. Like, I mean, you had really good gross retention.
Yes.
And typically to drive, net retention, you've either got to go out and build those additional products or acquire those products. So it's nice to kind of have that.
And I lived it. Yeah, I lived it for sure.
Yeah.
Which is like, and I screwed up earlier in my career. It was like, it's just revenue at all. Let's get it at any cost. Let's just get the revenue, get the growth number. And you're like, oh, wait a second. I'm the head of like that just churned. Oops.
It changes a little bit as CRO because you're metriced on all those things, right? You can't really grow if you got a leaky bucket.
That's right. So I got a lot of those were like early challenges, but so then you're like, oh, not necessarily. I was like, oh, I know what to do here. Let's bring in an account manager. Actually, net retention is the most important thing.
Yeah.
Number one.
That is the number one metric.
Let's rally around that first. Like ARR net retention, that's most important. Our growth rate, if our growth rate's 40, but our net retention, isn't over 100%, then we got a leaky bucket. It's not going to work. So that's kind of one of my, it's not a challenge. I would say it's a challenge. Like, not that the team isn't open, but that's just, I've invested more. I've brought comp plans in. I've brought new roles in on account management, new programs that relate to that, where we have.
Sounds like you've made some investments too, and partnerships and channel.
That's right. Those are all areas to help us in that front. I think we have still probably the next, you hit on it earlier, which kind of has me like, just resonates with me of just further investing in indirect channel. So today, like we're on the App Exchange, Salesforce will bring us into opportunities. Some SIs will bring us into opportunities. We have go-to-market partners like the data providers like Dun & Bradstreet and Dun & Bradstreet and Moody's and others that were like, they have the raw materials and they're like, you need the go-to-market, you need the blinds and the windows and like the
you need the plumbing to make all of that data work.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, no, put the plumbing together. So we'll invest further on those fronts as well. It's been more of like, nothing is like fully broken. It's more like it's like actually like, which one should I do? And the most important there is our chairman of the board is like, just do. I don't really care. Fail fast, do it. And I think that's one of his super successes as an entrepreneur from what like our founding company of Traction on Demand, which is like just go out and do it, and then fail fast and learn and tweak it from there, type of thing. So
Yeah, that's a great mentality to have, especially in your upline leadership, to give you kind of like the freedom to experiment and learn and fail
yeah,
with the guidance that do it quickly.
that's right. That's right.
Fail fast.
Yeah.
Cool. So in terms of biggest changes really over the last 18 months in terms of, how go to market works at Traction, it's really centered around investment in partners, investing more in the customer and account management and renewals and upsells.
Yeah, we kind of have three pillars that we're focusing on. Like, let's continue to focus in on our ICP, and we've made some segmentations of like larger accounts from Velocity because they can have different price point packaging some stuff, but to try to get the most out of that team, building career paths for BD into AE roles and account management roles. We're going to invest in talent. So that's kind of like the new business growth lens. The middle one is, which is the center of everything, is your net retention. So I've added a bunch of roles around account management and programs around that. And then I invested in the third pillar, which is just partners. So I brought in a key individual that was quite familiar with the Salesforce ecosystem. He's been running programs with other partners as well. We have this beautiful offer now to the market it's called Health 360, where we believe firmly in this like give to receive, like give more. Selling is like helping, not pitching and being like, here's what you need type of thing. And our friends at Salesforce, they have this amazing company, but they got to sell a lot of products, and they got to sell Tableau, and they got to sell Slack, and they got to sell all of these things that they're trying to sell. And we were working with one of the key execs at Salesforce, and his alignment on this whole program is like, let's help them. So we'll do like a health assessment to show that the metadata, what it's at, and then we can actually help do some connection and cleaning. So we're like helping them so that they can take advantage of AI and agentic AI and various things to help them in their overall go-to-market. So we've launched programs like that, and we do
sort of like what with SAP, we had the whole value engineering team, which is sort of the approach.
Yeah, doing assessments on them. That's right.
Doing some benchmarking. Here's where you're really strong. Here's where you're operating well. Here are the areas for improvement. That was always a great starting point for a conversation.
That's right. You meet them where they're at. You know that they're wanting to take advantage of AI. They wanted to invest in what's potentially, maybe they have a bunch of tech debt, too much Apex code, et cetera, so forth. So we can help do that assessment and then come in and help. So it's good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. So, every CRO comes in with a mental model of where they can add the most value. You've got 18 months of hindsight right now. Where do you think you've had the biggest impact so far, and where do you still see the most upside?
So my three favorite pillars.
Love this. You talk about this a lot.
And I think it was actually, I can't take full credit, but I've now stolen it. And that's the good things are worth stealing when you're like
a little R&D.
A little R&D. And I think it was Rob Tomczyk gave me these 3 Ps, which was performance, people, and process. And we're really aligned on the like, again, you can toggle them a little bit, but let's take performance first. You need to get data metrics. What's the situation? Every answer, I'm finance trained through university background. The answer is to every question is, it depends. Full stop. And depends on what? Exactly. Get the data. So what we do now at this company depends on our goals, what we're trying to accomplish, what our current metrics are. So like getting a base, what are we driving for rule of 40? What's our net retention? What's our conversion rate? What's our total pipeline? What's working on pipeline? What are our conversions? How's our quota attainment? All of these things. Then once you have all of that kind of data, you can be like, okay, here's our focus. Because you're going to know based on data, you're making decisions based on data. Here's what we should focus in, because this is where our ICP is. This is where it converts the highest. My job as a head of sales is to put people into the position that they can perform the best. Full stop.
Yep.
That's what I do in sports. That's what I do in work. It's the same. Create an environment that allows people to achieve more. So I better know the baseline performance metrics. And then a beautiful thing as a parent now, when my kid doesn't do the things that they're supposed to do, did I set the proper expectations? If I didn't, shame on me. If I did, coaching moment. Here's an opportunity. Hey, you can't just assume they know. They come out of into the world and they have all of these values and set. No, it's all experiences that they learn. So the performance one is so critical for me.
That's a key thing, that point you mentioned, right? Because it's really important as a leader to look internally. It's like, did I do my job?
That's right.
Did I set the right expectations? Did I provide the right training? Did I support them?
That's right.
Because if you haven't, well, that's the problem is more, in your hands. So I love that.
Yeah, so then you got the data, the metrics, and you can be data driven and go from data to decisions, if you will, and you go to the people side. Do I have the right people? What is the data telling me on the people? Am I doing the right thing? Are expectations set? And how do I upskill them? What could I do? What kind of environment do I put them in front of? I am a very high energy leader. I have high expectations. I don't expect perfection, but I expect the pursuit of excellence. As a leader early on, I made plenty of failures. Everybody, we're all doing power hour, but it was no, it's just two people. If I'd managed the two people that were performing lower, the rest of the team would have performed better. So you got to make the tough calls when you've given them enough and they still aren't making it. When you let them go, the other team that are the performers are like, thank God. And you can actually drive them further ahead. I got that gift from various employees over the years. So I am really driven on, as I said earlier, just creating pathways. There's a great, what is his name? I'll remember the book probably as soon as we finish up here. But it's your one-on-one should be clear expectations, career conversations, and coaching opportunities. Those three things. And I was like, oh, actually, that's kind of what I've been doing. I didn't frame it up this beautifully because I didn't write the book. I'm writing a graphic novel. Yeah. But I'm going to steal that. That's pretty good. And so it's where do you want to go in your career? How are we helping you get there? What are you doing today in your job? What are the expectations? Are you hitting the numbers? Are you not? And then let's take some coaching opportunities. There's so many gifts now. I'd be like, hey, just send me that gong. If I'm not on the call, or if I'm on the call, I'm fairly active to help support. So it's just keep working, looking after the people. And then the process, what did you do to help improve the business? What systems did you drive efficiency? And if everybody's thinking about that, we're all winning. So that's the playbook, I think. And it probably survives past any AI replacement.
Yeah, these are just
think about that. You're it's oh, my job's going to be taken away. Okay, can it do those three things? Okay, great. I'll go do something else. I'll go coach the soccer team or something. But those are the things that I'm really leaning into where I believe I can add, that mental model to add the most value to leveling the organization.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, you have a strategy. You've got to assess the strategy. You have to have some measures of performance. And then to determine if, the strategy is a good one, you got to look at the people that you have. Do you have the people to go out there to execute the strategy? And then, process is really important, and just sort of that spirit that you mentioned, sort of around continuous improvement of excellence.
Yeah.
Cool. And maybe some lessons from your Xerox days. What did that environment teach you about selling and being a pro, and still shows up in how you build teams today?
Yeah, I think the first one is, and it's part like Xerox, perhaps even just the family values of like, I still in my dad's like voice, like proper preparation prevents poor performance. It's kind of a negative spin on them, generally more of a positive, but I like it's good. It creates like, let's prepare, and everything, like it just drives everything. And like around that same topic, Bill McDermott, when we were at SAP Business Objects, he was like, from the show, what was his book is like from the store, like from the corner store to the the top floor or something like that, and
like a sub shop or something like that.
Exactly. And it was
I've
like
got a copy of that.
it's great. It's like it's part preparation, but it's like my second pillar of people. He understood people and like empathy. So I think I learned a tremendous amount to like. It became a commodity. Like, how do you stand out? Well, the more that you understand and connect with people and understand their point of view, meet them where they're at, then you can be better. So it was like that came through like the preparation piece. Xerox was like, I don't drive the team so much on like, you need to get X amount of activity out. Because I was like, every seller BDR is different. They all have their own strengths. But I'm definitely I believe in if you do more, you will get more. Especially if it's guided in the like, it's relevant and it's timely. It's like, that repetition. Like if you think about my Xerox, I was in front of the prospect consistently and trying to stand out in a new, different way. And they were like, "Oh, you're that guy from what company?" The next meeting was like, "You're that guy from what is J? What? Oh, hey, oh yeah, next month. Oh, you're Jayme from Xerox. Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, hey, Jayme from Xerox. That thing that you gave me last month. Yeah, we're ready now. Like, yeah. Oh, thanks.
You start to become more familiar. They know that you're persistent and you're there for the long haul, and that shows up.
That's right. And there's a saying in the mountains that you come for the mount, or you come for the winter and you stay for the summer. Like I think about that, like you come for maybe the product and you stay for the service type of thing. Like if you think about anything in technology, it doesn't come to life without people. So your people at the front lines, your sellers, the buyers are evaluating them in addition to your product. How they show up, how they respond, how you build trust with them. Then it's like, then how do you bring it to life? How do you get the product to deliver on the mission that you sold or the vision that you actually sold? So that service piece is so important. We have our G2 ratings are bananas. Our CS team is just awesome, world class. They know more about Salesforce than most, and then they know more about data than most, and they're making those connections. So we just get continued raving fans from our customers being like, it's like, that team is awesome. So I think that's kind of similar to what we did at Xerox. Was like, we had an investment locally. We made like, hey, we want in this case, it was like you're serving products, but like you're serving technology in this case at Xerox. But if that print shop goes down, it's like money in their pocket right there, gone. We could have a faster response time to that problem than any other competitor. And if they weren't there, we could be there. Like we were more on the sales side, but we could be there. We were local. We were in, the same place. We went to the same Rotary, or we went to the same church, or you went to the same ski hill in the same lineup. You were right there, like, they knew who you were.
Thing, that's a mission critical system. Like, and most of the systems that we sold over the course of our careers are really mission critical systems. When those systems go down, it's a nightmare. So
and you don't really want to be in a company. Well, sure, there's all sorts of companies. You don't necessarily realize it when you get there, but like if you have a nice to have product, oh man, it's so much harder.
Yeah, for sure.
That's probably a good awareness of like, understand churn of the SaaS company if you're out there in the market and like, hey, I'm evaluating the product and company. Is this a must-have? Like, we were BI wasn't necessarily a must-have at the start, but it became pretty much table stakes that you needed it, as we further got into it. But like an ERP system, that's a must. have. That's running your financial accounting side. So for us, we're like,
So true. Like going back to your VC scorecard, like if I'm looking for a role, like many VCs, they look to invest in mission critical systems. There's a reason why. And when you're looking at roles, that's certainly something that I look at as well. Is like, is this system like really fundamental? Is it mission critical? And that's a good starting point. So I wanted to talk a little bit about roles that you have either currently that you're looking to fill, or maybe roles that you expect to hire for soon at Traction Complete. Any specific roles you're looking to fill?
Yeah, that would be great. I believe in that, where you should always be on recruiting, and because there's like some of your top talent is maybe happy at another company. So, you're just staying, you're maybe making a deposit, you're checking in, et cetera, and so forth, for those key people that you really want that could come in and help transform your business.
Just like sales, right? It's always be recruiting.
Yeah, and just like always. And it's like, again, how are you helping them? How are you making deposits? Hey, I read this article. I thought this may help you in your sales. Even though they're not with you, or not, you could still help them out. So have that list of people. But for us specifically, we do have actually open roles today for account executives that are critical to the success of our striving. We have roles that we have are like account directors, which will take a combination of existing customers and new. Then we have kind of a account executive, which is a role that goes after our enterprise accounts, generally landing and can expand within the same year. We have, they're not necessarily junior roles. We have velocity territories that we just set up. We could recruit from them externally. We try to really promote our BDR team into the velocity roles to give them exposure into that. So I have velocity roles. I have account executive roles that are open. I have BDR roles. Our BDR team it's like maybe shameless plug, but I've never seen a BDR team like ours. The camaraderie on the team, the output, we promoted 4 people last quarter.
Wow, that's awesome.
We promoted people into pre-sales, account management, and account executive roles. So we have a few open spots there around that. We have a partner account manager role. It's a bit of like, we're playing a bit with that one. You have to kind of come and grow with us of like, do we focus in on system integrators? Should we build out kind of a reselling type practice like we did at Crystal Bob J? Or just focusing on the go-to-market? So that's a little bit of like, we're working on where the challenge is like, they're all good, which is the best investment that will provide the highest value that we want right now. And then there's a couple that we'll plan. We're in the back half of our fiscal year. So it's pretty fun. We don't have to have everything closed for December, even though the calendar changed. We're in Q3. So we're finishing up Q3 here in January, and then we go into Q4 and finish up in April, and then we kick off our new year. So we're working on our budget and our plan and our goals. We've kind of got a 2-year plan, and then we're refining that of what we really want to go after next year. And in there we'll likely put, this is more my purview, so there's many, many other roles. So if they're not in the kind of sales, I'm generally in all of the sales side of the house or revenue side of the house, like so account managers, supporting roles for account managers, AEs, and BDR. So it's like enablement. We're looking to make some investments around that. We're like making some investments. We have a lot of expertise in RevOps because that's kind of our core, but we're like, maybe we should dedicate and put somebody specifically in. We have a lot of customers that would want to work for us, so we'll look to potentially hire that. So those last 2 aren't quite, those are almost like, maybe they're opportunistic. Like if the right person comes, we're like, oh yeah, we should land that person. It's not necessarily, you won't find that one.
It's not posted yet, but
not posted. We're hiring a bunch of CS, so customer success as well. They're awesome, amazing team. You just check out what our ratings and stuff like that are on G2. And then we're continuing to grow our product and dev team as well, and just like supporting functions into finance and into people and HR. So we're
cool.
opportunities.
I mean, it sounds like lots of amazing growth. Like you've got, a number of roles that are open right now and expect more to be open in the future. And, you're
Yes.
doing the right things in terms of investing in enablement to support all of these hires and investing in RevOps. So all these new sales people and business development people can be successful. That's fantastic. Anything that based on your experience from Xerox, from Crystal, from Bob J, from SAP, et cetera, that you really look for when you're evaluating a candidate?
Oh, that's great. So I was given one gift early on that I think a lot about, and it's an acronym. So it's like DNA and then PRO. So I look at that type of a template a lot, and that drives kind of a whole lot, much longer, bigger conversation. But like D stands for drive, N stands for nature, A stands for acumen, P stands for performance, R stands for relevance, and O stands for opportunities. You can unpack them a little, like what does those all mean? Like opportunities, what choices have they made for their career? Relevance, do they have sales background? Is it in software? Where is it coming from? We'll bend. Like I hired a pastor because they had a whole bunch on the upper end. Like it doesn't have to be like perfect, all like 10s on each of these different ones. And performance is like, how have they performed? That's like, sure, ideal scenarios, like, hey, they were the best in their previous sales company, but like, were they great in the arts? Were they great in, what did they do great? You have to do something great. For me, I have a bias towards athletics because that's where I came from. That you like, because it's just numbers. Like, you're in revenue, you have to be prepared to be like, I really like that the clock resets, and I'm going to go back and win all over again. And
competitive nature and
the motivation and the tactics and the strategy and all the things that come with doing something, performing at a really high level. And then the other ones are like acumen is like, what are the questions they ask me? Like that's a great sign.
Because if they're not asking you great questions, they're probably not going to ask a prospect great questions. They're probably not going to come prepared to ask those great questions.
That's right too. Nature, how do they like people buy from people still? How do they show up? Are they awkward? Well, it's kind of awkward, and then just like drive is like, you can see what they've done and how they think about it and what I'm not afraid to kind of like lean into their like who shaped them. Like if you have a employee that worked under a really horrible boss and you promote that person, not always, but more often than not, that person ends up, hopefully maybe they can learn and come out the other side. But that influence of like, it's in the home. The parents are not great to their kids. Unfortunately, it's going to be a much harder road for those kids to get out of that cycle to be good. So it's like, if the boss is good, like I think I was quite fortunate. Of course I worked for some less than stellar bosses over 25 years. But for the most part, it was people that cared about me, that invested in me, that, that helped me with process, that dug in and helped. Like, so then what do? I just follow that same template. I'm like, I like this.
Model those people that were really good leaders. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. It's such a good point. Cause like once you've been influenced, once you've been in that environment, it can be tough to kind of shake those things that you've learned.
That's right.
And they're not always the best things, for sure. And it's interesting, I'm thinking about the comment about hiring a pastor. I mean, may seem a little bit strange, but I don't know, when I think about it, I mean, what's selling, right? It's just, it's a transfer of belief. It's a transfer of emotion. So while I can see that maybe being a little bit weird in terms of a background, I could also see that working very well. Maybe need to teach them the ropes of software sales, but could work work great.
And like on that, like if you think about if you're interested in the roles that we have, the only one gotcha is like, we're not SAP, we're not Oracle, we're not Salesforce. We don't have a plethora of like here's if you're expecting to come in and be like, here's how you're going to go win, Sean, this is not the place for you. Like, as you know, like you're investing in it and you're caring for it, but like every company's at a different cycle that can invest. We need entrepreneurial people that are like, I got this idea. This is what I want to go do. Like my last company, I was like, everybody needs to, it's an expectation. Everyone's prospecting. Everyone's building demand. It's not just the VDs. Everybody in the company. Okay. AEs, a lot of AEs are like resistant. No, I'm the big, I should just be getting the opportunity and selling it. No, you need to go out there and create demand for your territory. At a minimum 25, ideally if you can get all the way to 50%, now you're going to make some really good money. Because your BD and marketing are going to provide 50%. And if you're doing, or more, now all of a sudden you're exceeding your quota. So I had a rep that was like in Atlanta. He's like, I hear you, Jayme. Here's what I want to do. I want to do this event at the Atlanta Braves. I'm going to bring these customers, these prospects. This is how much it's going to cost. Here's how much I'm going to do. Are you in? The CMO and I were like, 1000%, let's go. So like you need that level of like, you're running your business, right? If you're just like, I had these two individuals at 2 startups ago, the pastor and somebody else, one person with a lot of experience. And that experience didn't help them. They were expecting stuff to come from marketing and pipeline, and they were complaining and didn't like it. Mm-hmm. The pastor was like, I don't know any better. Like, here's the plan I'm going to go create. It's like, I looked at the numbers. I saw how many meetings. I saw the conversion. Like, I see the number. I think if I do 1 meeting per day, I should hit the number. Because it looks like based on the meetings. He looked at all the G count, like the calendar of the previous successful reps, got all of that data. And he's like, this is what I'm going to do. And here's how I'm going to do it. He didn't put it in my PowerPoint checking boxes. He put it on this scrap piece of paper, presented it. And I was like, I'm in. You're going to hit it. And sure enough, like 7 months into the year, exceeded the number. The BDR was right there with them. We promoted the BDR to like take on some of the volume because they had so much business. And it was like a thoughtful, like entrepreneurial plan. We're like, we know that this person, if we get to this person, he's the influencer in our New York territory. He'll help us unlock a whole bunch more pipeline. Sure, what did he do? He got kind of like somehow got a badge to get into this event. Sat up beside him, at the bar and was like, hey, like, Joe, great to meet you. I'm so-and-so. Built a relationship, built trust. The next thing you know, Joe is
amazing.
We didn't know how to do that. This was like, cause this is, so like ours, we're startup-y still. We need that level. Like with the CMO, I was like, we need a cab. We need to really invest in our customers. We had historically been doing these like little city tours, which are great. But I was like, no, let's bring them together. Let's bring our top 30. These are the best brands on the planet in tech. Let's invest in them. And like, this is what we're going to do. So it's like, we haven't executed on it yet, but we're going to do it. And it's just the account director team that has these top 30 are like, this is the best thing ever. Thank you. And I was like, yeah, you're welcome. And you need to execute on it. And oh, by the way, like, you can do this for your own territory. No one's stopping you. Actually, this is the level of like, this is what we did at Xerox. Like you're coming back of like, I don't know, we just made up and did stuff and figured out, like, we're always thinking, how could we get more? How could we get like more revenue? How could we get more pipeline? What could we do here? How do we convert this one? Bring the team around, get them all rallied, put a program name around it. And
that entrepreneurial drive is so important. Like just those elements of creativity and focus on what I can control. And I'm going to focus on that. And I'm going to do that to the max, and the leads that I get and whatnot, the referrals that I get from partners, that's awesome. But I'm going to control what I control. And those things are going to be sort of a bonus. That's going to be the cherry on top. That's going to take me to 125, 150, 200% plus your quota. And that's really the only way to do it. And you got to, you're in sales. You got to go out and do those things. You've got to treat like your territory, like it's almost like your own franchise. In the case of Traction Complete, you own that group of customers, group of prospects, that geo, what have you. You got to treat it like your own business.
And that's probably not a fair, it's not stereotype, but to say that the large companies don't do that. I would argue that the best account executives and BDRs, big company, small company, are doing that.
Yeah, they're always doing it.
They're always doing it. They're always thinking about pipeline creation. They're always thinking about what they could do to differentiate themselves. They're leveraging. I don't know if you got into that or it was you were in leadership at that point, but Rob Enslin and Eric Ranta at SAP invested in what was called general management leadership. And I was like, okay, what's this all about? And I went, and it was this was so impactful that 15 years later, I'm still talking about it, which was this concept of span of control and influence leadership. And as a frontline VP, you have very good span of control. Sean, you work for me. You need to do this. If you don't do this, I'm going to fire you. But this was a machine in SAP. And it worked better when the machine had trust across departments. So pre-sale, because the VP of sales only had the sellers.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't have the pre-sales people, the BDRs, the inside sales reps, the professional services people, the value engineers. But the best reps and the best leaders figured out how to build influence and trust across to get these people to help them do the things that they wanted to do. And that's a trait that's so important especially if you're complex, large enterprise selling, that you put in the effort and work and you're like, who could help amplify me? Maybe now it's a partner that's going to help amplify. That level of bring that team in, get them all together to figure out how to solve the problem or create the opportunity. Then you have
those Maxwell principles of leadership. It's so important, especially in more complex or enterprise sales, the ability to go out and connect and influence, various, not only external prospect stakeholders, but your internal stakeholders. It very rarely, it's not a team of one. You really need a team that's working together to do these more complex deals.
That's right.
Cool. So Jayme, this has been awesome. Where can people learn more about you and Traction Complete? What's the best place to connect?
LinkedIn. Simple.
LinkedIn.
Yeah, I'm super active. I respond. Very active there. I try to post deposits on a regular basis and not just shameless plugs about Traction. I really try to add value to the go-to-market operations, if you will, what I'm seeing in the field, what lessons I've learned, insider baseball of what I've tried and didn't work that or worked, and what I'm seeing working, topics in AI. Yes, of course, my job is to sell as much Traction in my team as possible. But so you can learn about Traction there. You can see a lot of the great stuff that we're doing, the great companies that we're working for, what roles we have open, what we're looking to do. Yeah, hit me up there.
Cool. Yeah, if you're listening, make sure you follow and connect with Jayme. He's got a ton of experience and expertise, lots of good nuggets that you'll see in his posts. And for anyone who wants to see or apply for roles we've talked about, go to salesacademy.com/jobs. I'll personally pre-vet and forward the best fits to Jayme's team. Jayme, appreciate you doing this. This has been awesome.
It's awesome. Thanks so much.